Today we are with Randall Wray, an old friend of Lola Books, because we have just published the German version of Money for Beginners, and we are also going to publish the Spanish version of Money for Beginners. In German, it's called Geld für Anfänger. In Spanish, Dinero para Principiantes. So we are with him, and Randall, thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me on.
This is a great book. I think that it is probably the best way to start with modern monetary theory that I know, because it goes direct to the point, to money for beginners. So first, maybe the first question would be, what is money?
Well, so that's actually the first question we try to answer in the book too. So what we want to do is get at the nature of money. Often in basic economics courses, you begin with the functions of money. And so then money is sort of defined by what money does. And so I like to joke and say that that's like describing what a human is as something that sits on the couch and munches potato chips while they watch TV. Okay, that doesn't really get us at the nature of a human being. So by nature, money is always an IOU. This has always been true. There are no exceptions to this. That is the nature of money. It's an IOU. And as my professor Hyman Minsky used to say, anybody can create money. All you have to do is write, I owe you €5. I owe you $5. That's an IOU. You have created money. But the second part of his statement was, but you have to get it accepted. Okay, so now if you will accept my IOU, I have created money and you are holding my IOU. So that's the fundamental nature of money. That's what money is.
And what is the difference between the money that you or me can do, or a private enterprise can do, and the money that the government creates, or the state?
Yeah, well, the difference is in that second part of the Minsky quote, acceptance. Your IOU will be accepted by your close circle of friends, your family, but probably not much beyond that without further investigation into your creditworthiness. So that's what a bank will do. Maybe a bank will take your IOU. They specialize in determining whether you are creditworthy. Are you good for the $5? Okay. In the case of the government, its IOUs are the most widely accepted IOUs, almost without exception, in every nation. And there's a fundamental reason for this, and that is that the government can put you into debt by proclamation. In democracies, our Congress or our parliament will pass a tax law that puts you into debt. And you can get yourself out of debt by using the government's own IOUs. And this is the second sort of fundamental thing, fundamental nature of these money IOUs is they must be redeemed. And when you return the currency to the government that issues it, you have redeemed the currency. And in English, we're very clear about what redemption means, and we know where the term comes from. Comes from religion, getting yourself out of a different kind of debt, right? Sin. But in the case of tax debt, you use the government's money to redeem yourself. You're no longer in tax debt. And the government is simultaneously redeemed. It no longer owes you $5.
So you are saying that the taxes are not used by the government to finance public spending, because the money is created by the government. So what is the function of taxes? Why do we need taxes?
Yeah, well, the function of taxes is to put you into debt so that you will desire the government's money. And this is what allows the government to spend its money very widely. It will be widely accepted within its own country. Let's be clear. It may not be accepted outside its country, but we can be sure it is accepted within its country because we have to pay taxes to the government. In the past, fees and fines were more important than taxes, but today tax is the main liability. But of course, if you drive your car too fast, you can get a fine. That also is payable in the government's currency. And the government can charge fees. You go to the national park, you got to pay a fee to get in. So for all these reasons, we want the government's money to pay down our fees, fines, and taxes.
So that's what gives worth or makes the money worth it, no? Or
Yeah.
gives value to money, no?
And in the book, let me just give one other example because this will be very clear to people. So we give an example of a pizza joint, a pizza restaurant that mails out coupons for free pizza when the pizza joint first opens. They want to build up business, so they mail out coupons for free pizzas. What is that coupon? That coupon is an IOU. Now, it's not a money IOU, it's a pizza IOU. So Joe's Pizzeria owes a pizza to anyone who has that coupon. When they bring it in, Joe accepts the coupon. Joe redeems the coupon by giving a pizza to whoever brings in the coupon. And then what does Joe do with that coupon? Does he go try to spend it? No, he burns it. Okay. And this is the third fundamental sort of law of money. When the money is redeemed, you burn it. So you do not spend tax revenue. You burn tax revenue. In the old days, literally, the government would burn the paper money that came back in payment of taxes. It would melt the coins that came back in payment of taxes. It would burn the tally sticks, which was all over Europe. The way that most governments spent was using sticks. They would burn the tally sticks. And then finally today, we don't use tally sticks or we don't pay taxes with coins and money. We use bank accounts, and our bank deposits are just debited. So the modern equivalent of burning the tax revenue is just debiting accounts.
All right, so the government cannot run out of its own money. Like Joe cannot run out of his own coupons for pizza, right?
That's right. As long as there's one person at the Treasury with one finger who can keystroke credits to bank accounts, the government cannot run out of money.
So, to our readers in Germany and in Spain, why do you think that this book is important? And probably for different reasons, if you are in Spain or in Germany, right? Or in Austria.
Yeah. Well, what it means is that as we said, governments cannot run out of money. This applies also in Europe to countries that use euros. However, from the very beginning, the so-called Maastricht criteria were trying to limit government's ability to spend. And although there's been some relaxation, there is still this bias toward what we call fiscal austerity, which is to limit government spending as if it might run out of money when it really cannot.
So we are saying that this monetary sovereignty now is in the European Central Bank, even though it doesn't use it.
Well, it doesn't use it up to what is necessary. That's true.
All right. So can you please tell us about the debts that the government has? You know, many people are very worried that the the debt level is not going to be payable, that the government is going to go broke, that we are going to not being able to pay our debt meetings. Is that possible when you have your own currency?
Okay, well, so government IOUs, we can look at it from the other point of view, from our point of view. From our point of view, those are government owes us's. They owe us. That's a good thing. From our perspective, the more government debt, the better. It means the government owes us more. It means our financial wealth is higher. Would you rather owe the government, or would you rather the government owes you? It's pretty obvious. I would rather the government owes me, and the government promises to pay me interest on its IOUs. So from the perspective of the non-government sector, the government's debt is our wealth. The government's liabilities are our assets. Now, the great fear is someday the government won't be able to pay the interest. But how could that possibly be true? All government payments in modern economies are done through keystrokes on computers. And it's literally impossible for the government to run out of keystrokes. So the government can always make those payments. And there are sort of automatic stabilizing processes that go on in the economies, so that as the economy grows, as employment is created, government deficits, which just means the government spends more than tax revenue, automatically go down, and the government stops issuing debt as the economy grows rapidly. When the economy slows down, government tax revenues fall, and so deficits get bigger and debt gets bigger. This is a cyclical nature of deficits. And so when you look at a country that has relatively big government deficits, it is because the economy is doing poorly. And those deficits are helping to turn the economy around. So they are automatically limiting. And so all of this fear mongering that says, oh, the deficits are exploding and they'll get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, it never happens that way. The deficits always automatically turn around and get smaller and smaller as the economy recovers and grows.
And what about the fear that many people have in the sense that they think that a lot of deficit or deficit itself is always inflationary?
Well, again, the deficits are self-correcting. So as an economy recovers and begins to grow faster, which could possibly cause inflation as economies grow faster, that inflation itself increases tax revenue quickly. And that automatically reduces the size of the deficit. Now, I know everybody's worried about inflation right now. Clear, okay? Inflation is a problem. It's at least a political problem. You could argue it could possibly be an economic problem. But the inflation that we're facing now is not because spending is too high. It is not because employment is too high. It is not because the government spent too much money. It's because of COVID. It's because of war in Ukraine. It is all on the supply side. It's not the demand side. And so blaming government spending for today's inflation is just wrong.
So once we get rid of the problems that we are having because of COVID and the war, is it possible to achieve full employment without inflation?
It's possible, but you really have to have targeted spending. You have to have in place something like what's called a job guarantee. You have to have the government get involved in ensuring full employment. There's a big difference between the so-called Keynesian approach, of just government spending money. It's called priming the pump, trying to increase aggregate demand and hoping the private sector will hire everybody who wants a job. Okay, that method of trying to get full employment is very likely to cause inflation. It's also very likely to cause financial instability. That's not what we recommend. We recommend targeted spending. The government should target its spending toward job creation. So that doesn't necessarily mean the government has to itself provide those jobs, but it has to ensure the spending is creating jobs, not just pumping up demand. This is why MMT was blamed for the COVID inflation in the United States, which supposedly resulted from mailing out checks to everybody. So that was both President Trump and President Biden ramped up spending, sending checks to every household in America. And that was said to be MMT policy. Well, that's not MMT policy because it's not targeted. And that kind of policy could possibly cause inflation. But if the spending is targeted to job creation, then it's not going to be inflationary.
What about other social programs? No, not only the job guarantee, but what about, for example, universal health care or universal education or retirement money for the pensioners?
Yeah, well, again, see, I would say that spending on education and healthcare is targeted spending. And it is like investing in your population. Investments are not inflationary. Investments increase the capacity of your economy to provide for itself. So these are actually investments that improve economic performance. They're not inflationary.
All right. So from the point of view of economic policy, it would be possible to have enough public spending to have full employment and welfare for everybody without creating inflation once we get rid of the supply side problems like the war.
Yeah, and I think that what COVID has taught us is that the way the global production system had been set up was very fragile and very easily disrupted by a virus, by war. It could be disrupted by an earthquake that hits Taiwan, tsunami. There were very fragile supply chains. This was a mistake. And I think that that is one of the lessons we learned from COVID, that we need to boost our productive capacity all over Europe, in America. We can't rely on supply chains from Asia.
All right. So, well, we can call this conversation, or we can frame this conversation into the what is called modern monetary theory. We have published several of your books in German and in Spanish. What other books do you recommend, or what other authors do you recommend if some of our viewers would like to know more about modern monetary theory?
Yeah, well, so for much more on the job guarantee, Pavlina Cherneva has a book out 2 years ago, I think, with the same English press as Money for Beginners. That is a great book. Stephanie Kelton has a very good book on the deficit myth that was out 2 or 3 years ago. That's a basic introduction to MMT. And just recently, I was a co-editor of a book on modern monetary theory. I prefer modern money theory, but it has monetary in the title, with Gower, that has a bunch of chapters written by various authors that presents MMT. So that's also a very good book.
Yeah, we have in Lola Books we have published Pavlina Cherneva and Stephanie Kelton, so it's very good to have your insights on that. Okay, well, I thank you very much for your time. I hope that everybody reads your book Money for Beginners in Spanish and in German. In German it's called Geld für Anfänger, and in Spanish it will be called Dinero para Principiantes. And I thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you.